There's something unsettling about watching everyone else blend into the crowd while you stand apart. You look around and see people nodding in agreement, following trends, accepting what's comfortable. But deep down, you know you're different. You've felt it your whole life, that quiet knowing that your path isn't meant to look like theirs. Many feel chosen, but few can actually walk the path. The path is narrow, and that's why you often walk alone. If you've ever wondered why solitude feels both heavy and necessary, why your standards seem to isolate you from others, and how to transform that loneliness into unshakable strength, then you're in the right place. Today, we're exploring something most people avoid discussing: how to turn what feels like isolation into your greatest competitive advantage. If clarity and purpose make sense to you, subscribe to receive a new video every week. This conversation draws inspiration from Dale Carnegie's deeper insights about human independence, though most people only know his surface teachings about winning friends and influencing people. What fewer realize is that Carnegie understood something profound. True influence comes from internal independence, not from seeking approval. He recognized that those who make the greatest impact often walk a lonelier road because they refuse to compromise their vision for temporary comfort. Carnegie spent years observing successful individuals, and he noticed a pattern. The most influential people weren't necessarily the most popular. They were the ones willing to stand alone when their principles demanded it. They understood that leadership often requires making decisions others won't understand until much later. This isn't about being antisocial or thinking you're better than others. It's about accepting that meaningful growth requires you to sometimes step away from the crowd. The modern world has made this even more challenging. We're constantly connected, constantly comparing ourselves to others, constantly seeking validation through likes and comments. But this external focus weakens us. Carnegie knew that real power comes from developing such a strong internal compass that you don't need constant external confirmation. You become comfortable with your own thoughts, your own decisions, your own company. This kind of independence isn't born from arrogance. It comes from clarity about what matters most to you. When you know your values deeply, when you understand your mission clearly, you naturally become more selective about how you spend your time and energy. This selectivity creates distance between you and those who haven't developed this same clarity. Let's examine the 3 types of loneliness that chosen individuals experience. Understanding these will help you recognize which one you're dealing with and how to navigate it effectively. The first type is geographical loneliness. This is simply being physically alone. Maybe you work from home, maybe you live in a new city, maybe your lifestyle requires long periods of solitude. This is the most straightforward type, and often the easiest to address. But for chosen individuals, geographical loneliness serves a purpose. It creates space for deep thinking, for creative work, for the kind of reflection that's impossible in constant company. Geographical loneliness becomes a tool rather than a burden when you understand its value. Some of history's greatest breakthroughs happened in solitude. Einstein did his best thinking on long walks alone. Thoreau deliberately chose isolation at Walden Pond. Tesla worked through complex problems in the quiet of his laboratory. Physical solitude isn't punishment, it's preparation. The second type is philosophical loneliness. This occurs when your thinking diverges from those around you. You start seeing patterns others miss. You question assumptions others accept without thought. You value things others consider unimportant. This type of loneliness is more challenging because it affects your relationships. Friends and family may not understand your choices. They might see your different perspective as criticism of their own lives. Philosophical loneliness often intensifies as you grow. The more you develop your mind, the fewer people can relate to your thought processes. You find yourself simplifying your ideas when you speak to others, not because you want to condescend, but because full expression of your thoughts would create confusion or conflict. This isn't about intelligence. It's about depth of consideration and willingness to explore uncomfortable truths. The third type is strategic loneliness. This is the isolation that comes from consistently saying no to things others automatically say yes to. You skip the party because you have important work to do. You decline the dinner invitation because you need rest. You avoid certain social groups because they drain your energy without adding value. Strategic loneliness is a choice, but it's often misunderstood by others as rejection or superiority. Strategic loneliness requires tremendous discipline because humans are social creatures. We want to belong, to be included, to be liked. But chosen individuals understand that not all inclusion serves their higher purpose. They're willing to accept temporary social discomfort to maintain their long-term trajectory. Each type of loneliness carries a price, but also provides specific benefits. The key is learning to extract maximum value from each while minimizing the emotional toll. Now let's explore the price of selection, what it actually costs to maintain the standards that set you apart. Having high standards means you'll reject more opportunities than you accept. While others grab whatever comes their way, you wait for what aligns with your vision. This creates gaps, periods where it seems like nothing is happening while others appear to be moving forward. These gaps test your faith in your own judgment. Standards also mean you'll outgrow relationships that once served you. Friends who supported you at one level might resist your growth to the next. Family members might express concern about your changing priorities. Romantic partners might feel threatened by your increased focus and discipline. Maintaining standards sometimes means choosing your future self over current comfort. Discipline is another price of selection. While others can be spontaneous and flexible, you must be more intentional. Your goals require consistent action, often when you don't feel motivated. This discipline can make you seem rigid to others, even when you know it's the foundation of your progress. But perhaps the most misunderstood price is productive silence. Chosen individuals often work on things others don't immediately understand or value. This means you can't always explain what you're doing or why it matters. You're building something that doesn't exist yet, solving problems others don't recognize, preparing for opportunities others don't see coming. This productive silence can be particularly challenging in relationships. Partners want to understand your work, friends want to know your plans, family members want to see immediate results. But meaningful work often requires long periods of invisible progress. Times when you're learning, experimenting, failing, and iterating without anything to show for it. The price of selection is real, but so are the rewards. Standards protect your time and energy for what truly matters. Discipline compounds your efforts over time. Productive silence allows deep work that shallow engagement prevents. These prices aren't punishments, they're investments in becoming who you're meant to be. To navigate this path effectively, you need structure. Let me share what I call the three-line pact, a framework that helps you maintain clarity while honoring your chosen status. The first line is your minimum daily mission. This is the one thing you commit to doing every single day, regardless of circumstances. It should be challenging enough to maintain your growth, but achievable enough that you never have an excuse to skip it. This might be reading for 30 minutes, exercising, writing 500 words, or practicing a skill. The specific activity matters less than the consistency. Your minimum daily mission serves multiple purposes. It proves to yourself that you can keep commitments when everything else feels chaotic. It maintains forward momentum even during difficult periods. It creates a foundation of accomplishment that builds confidence over time. Most importantly, it separates you from people who only act when they feel motivated. The second line is boundaries. These are your non-negotiables, the things you simply won't do or accept. Boundaries might include not checking your phone before completing morning priorities, not engaging in gossip or negative conversations, or not compromising your sleep schedule for social events. Boundaries aren't about being difficult. They're about protecting what matters most. Strong boundaries will make some people uncomfortable. They'll test your resolve, try to make exceptions, or question why you're being so rigid. But boundaries are what allow you to say yes to meaningful opportunities by saying no to everything else. Without boundaries, your time and energy get scattered across too many commitments, leaving nothing substantial for your most important work. The third line is gentle, radical honesty. This means speaking your truth in a way that's direct but kind. You don't hide your real thoughts to avoid conflict, but you express them in ways that invite dialogue rather than defensiveness. This might mean telling a friend you can't meet because you need to work on a project, admitting you disagree with a popular opinion, or acknowledging when something doesn't align with your values. Gentle, radical honesty prevents resentment from building up while maintaining authenticity in your relationships. People may not always like what you have to say, but they'll respect your consistency and know where they stand with you. This honesty also attracts people who value authenticity over comfort. These 3 lines create a framework for daily decision-making. When faced with any choice, you can ask yourself, does this support my minimum daily mission, respect my boundaries, and allow me to be gently, radically honest? If the answer is no to any of these, you have clear guidance on how to proceed. Walking alone doesn't mean walking without any connection. Even chosen individuals need what I call an essential network, a small circle of carefully selected relationships that provide different types of support. Your essential network should include 1 mentor, 1 peer, and 1 apprentice. This triangle provides everything you need for continued growth while keeping your social energy focused and intentional. Your mentor is someone ahead of you on a path you want to travel. They've achieved what you're working toward or developed qualities you admire. A mentor doesn't need to be formally recognized or even know they're filling this role for you. You might learn from them through books, videos, observation, or occasional conversations. The key is that they inspire you toward greater possibility. Finding the right mentor requires clarity about what you're trying to become. If you want to develop better business instincts, look for someone who's built successful companies. If you want to improve your thinking, study philosophers or scientists whose work resonates with you. If you want to develop greater emotional maturity, observe people who handle difficult situations with grace. Your peer is someone walking a similar path at roughly the same level. This person understands your challenges because they're facing similar ones. They can offer perspective when you're stuck, celebrate victories that others might not understand, and provide accountability when you need it most. A good peer relationship is mutual. You both give and receive value. Peer relationships require vulnerability because they work best when both people can admit struggles and ask for help. This can be challenging for chosen individuals who are used to figuring things out alone. But the right peer makes the journey less lonely without compromising your independence. Your apprentice is someone you're helping to develop. This might be a formal mentoring relationship, a younger colleague you guide, or simply someone who seeks your advice regularly. Teaching others deepens your own understanding while creating meaning through service. Having an apprentice forces you to articulate what you've learned and identify gaps in your knowledge. It also keeps you connected to beginner's mind, reminding you of challenges you've overcome and perspectives you might have lost. Most importantly, it ensures that your growth contributes to something larger than yourself. This 3-person network is deliberately small. Chosen individuals often struggle with larger social groups because they dilute attention and energy. 3 deep relationships provide more value than 30 surface-level connections. Each relationship serves a specific purpose while requiring manageable emotional investment. To maintain momentum while walking your chosen path, you need consistent daily practices. Let me introduce what I call the steady walk routine, a simple framework that keeps you aligned with your purpose throughout each day. The routine consists of 3 check-ins: morning direction, afternoon execution, and night review. Each serves a different purpose and takes just a few minutes to complete. Your morning direction session lasts 3 minutes. During this time, you identify your primary intention for the day. This isn't a to-do list or schedule review. It's a moment to connect with your deeper purpose and choose how you want to show up. You might ask yourself, what would make today meaningful? How can I honor my chosen path today? Or what energy do I want to bring to my important work? Morning direction prevents you from drifting through the day, reacting to whatever demands attention loudest. It creates intentionality from the moment you wake up and aligns your daily actions with your longer-term vision. This brief practice often determines whether your day feels purposeful or scattered. Your afternoon execution check-in lasts 6 minutes. This happens midday when energy often dips and distractions multiply. During this time, you assess whether you're still on track with your morning intention and make any necessary adjustments. You might ask yourself, am I honoring my boundaries? Am I making progress on what matters most? Or do I need to realign my energy for the rest of the day? Afternoon execution prevents the common pattern of starting strong but fading as the day progresses. It's a reset button that allows you to course correct before too much time passes. This check-in often reveals patterns about when you're most productive and what tends to derail your focus. Your night review session lasts 9 minutes. This is when you reflect on the day's experiences and extract lessons for tomorrow. You celebrate wins, acknowledge mistakes without judgment, and identify what you learned about yourself or your work. You might ask yourself, what am I proud of today? Where did I compromise my standards? Or what do I want to remember about this experience? Night review prevents days from blending together without conscious learning. It helps you recognize progress that might otherwise go unnoticed and patterns that might otherwise remain unconscious. This practice turns every day into education, regardless of whether external results are immediately visible. The specific timing of 3, 6, and 9 minutes isn't arbitrary. These durations are long enough to go beyond surface thoughts, but short enough to maintain consistency. The progression also creates natural rhythm, starting focused, expanding for deeper consideration, then closing with integration. This routine works because it acknowledges that chosen individuals need more intentionality than others. While some people can coast on autopilot and still maintain acceptable results, your path requires consciousness at every step. The steady walk routine provides this consciousness without consuming excessive time or energy. As we wrap up this exploration of walking alone as a chosen individual, remember that loneliness and isolation are not the same thing. Loneliness is the painful feeling of being disconnected from others. Isolation is the intentional choice to step away from certain social situations to protect your energy and focus. Chosen individuals often experience both, but learning to distinguish between them changes everything. When you feel lonely, it's usually because you're craving understanding, connection, or validation. These are normal human needs, and chosen individuals aren't immune to them. The key is learning to meet these needs in ways that don't compromise your path. This might mean reaching out to your essential network, engaging with communities that share your values, or simply acknowledging that temporary loneliness is the price of long-term authenticity. When you choose isolation, it's because you recognize that certain social situations would drain rather than energize you. This kind of strategic, the echo of footsteps on an empty street at dawn. That sound represents something most people will never understand. While the world sleeps, while others wait for permission or approval, there walks a different breed of person. Someone who has accepted a fundamental truth that separates them from the crowd forever. Many feel chosen, but few can actually walk the path. The path is narrow, and that's exactly why you often walk alone. But here's what nobody tells you about this journey. That loneliness isn't your weakness. It's your greatest source of strength. And by the end of this video, you'll understand how to transform what feels like isolation into the most powerful advantage you could ever possess. If clarity and purpose make sense to you, subscribe to receive a new video every week, because what we're about to explore will challenge everything you've been taught about belonging and acceptance. This insight comes from studying the principles that Dale Carnegie observed about true leadership and internal independence. Carnegie noticed something fascinating about individuals who achieved genuine influence and success. They had learned to derive their sense of direction from within, rather than seeking constant validation from others. They understood that approval from the masses often meant compromising the very standards that made them exceptional in the first place. Carnegie wrote extensively about human nature and influence, but buried within his observations was this deeper truth. The people who truly change the world, who create lasting impact, who build something meaningful, they all share one common characteristic. They've made peace with walking a path that others cannot or will not take. They've accepted that their commitment to excellence will often separate them from the crowd. This isn't about being antisocial or thinking you're better than everyone else. It's about recognizing that when you choose to live by higher standards, when you commit to continuous growth, when you refuse to settle for mediocrity, you automatically place yourself in a smaller group of people. And sometimes, especially in the beginning, that group consists of just you. The modern world has conditioned us to believe that being alone means being lonely, that walking your own path means being rejected or unwanted. But there's a profound difference between loneliness that comes from being lost and the solitude that comes from being found. The chosen person understands this distinction completely. Now let's examine the 3 distinct types of loneliness that every person on this path will encounter. Understanding these will help you recognize when you're experiencing growth rather than isolation. The first type is geographical loneliness. This is simply being physically alone. You wake up early to work on your goals while others sleep. You spend weekends developing skills while others socialize. You choose the gym over the bar, the book over the television, the project over the party. This geographical separation isn't antisocial behavior. It's strategic positioning. You're investing time in becoming the person you want to be, rather than just occupying time with whoever happens to be available. The second type is philosophical loneliness. This occurs when your thoughts, values, and perspectives begin to diverge from those around you. You start seeing opportunities where others see obstacles. You begin questioning systems and beliefs that everyone else accepts without examination. You develop standards for yourself that others consider unnecessarily high. This philosophical separation can be the most challenging because it affects your everyday conversations and relationships. People may start to see you as different, intense, or difficult to understand. The third type is strategic loneliness. This happens when you learn to say no to good opportunities in order to say yes to great ones. You decline invitations that don't align with your goals. You end relationships that drain your energy without providing mutual growth. You choose financial discipline over immediate gratification. Strategic loneliness is perhaps the most misunderstood because it appears selective or even arrogant to others. But it's actually the highest form of self-respect and future planning. Each type of loneliness serves a specific purpose in your development. Geographical loneliness creates the space you need to focus. Philosophical loneliness forces you to develop independent thinking. Strategic loneliness ensures you're directing your limited resources toward your highest priorities. But walking this path comes with a price. This is what most motivational content won't tell you. The price of selection, the cost of maintaining higher standards, the weight of productive silence. When you commit to excellence, you automatically eliminate a large portion of potential relationships, opportunities, and experiences. Not because they're bad, but because they don't serve your ultimate direction. This elimination process is continuous and sometimes painful. You'll watch friends make choices you can no longer make. You'll pass up immediate pleasures for long-term gains. You'll often be the person who says no when everyone else says yes. The discipline required to maintain this path is relentless. While others can afford to have off days, lazy weekends, or periods of coast time, you understand that consistency is what separates the exceptional from the ordinary. This doesn't mean you become a machine without rest or enjoyment. It means your rest is strategic, your enjoyment is intentional, and your standards remain constant even when nobody's watching. Then there's the productive silence. The chosen person learns to be comfortable with their own thoughts, their own company, their own judgment. They spend significant time in reflection, planning, and internal dialogue. This silence isn't empty or boring. It's rich with possibility, loaded with insights, pregnant with the next level of growth. But to others, this silence can appear unsociable or even arrogant. The question becomes, how do you maintain this path without losing yourself in isolation or becoming bitter about the sacrifices? The answer lies in what I call the three-line pact. These are three non-negotiable agreements you make with yourself that provide structure and purpose to your solitary journey. The first line is your minimum daily mission. This is the one thing you will do every single day, regardless of circumstances, mood, or external pressures. It might be reading for 30 minutes, exercising, writing in a journal, or working on your primary project. The key is that it's specific, measurable, and absolutely non-negotiable. This daily mission becomes your anchor, ensuring that even on your worst days, you're still moving forward. The second line is your boundary system. These are the things you will not compromise on, the standards you will not lower, the behaviors you will not accept from yourself or others. These boundaries might include not working with people who don't respect your time, not engaging in gossip or negative conversations, not sacrificing your health for short-term gains. Clear boundaries create clarity in decision-making and reduce the emotional energy wasted on situations that don't serve your growth. The third line is gentle, radical honesty. This means telling the truth to yourself and others, but with compassion and wisdom. You acknowledge when you're struggling, when you've made mistakes, when you need to change course. You also honestly communicate your standards, expectations, and needs to others. This honesty prevents resentment from building up and ensures that your relationships are based on authenticity rather than people-pleasing. These 3 lines create a framework that supports your solitary journey while keeping you connected to your authentic self and your long-term vision. But even the strongest individual needs some form of connection and guidance. The key is building what I call an essential network. This is a small, carefully curated circle of relationships that support your growth without compromising your standards. Your essential network consists of exactly 3 types of people: 1 mentor, 1 peer, and 1 apprentice. This structure provides you with guidance from above, accountability from beside, and purpose from below. Your mentor is someone who has already walked the path you're on and achieved results you respect. They don't need to be personally accessible to you. They might be someone you follow online, learn from through books, or occasionally interact with in professional settings. The key is that they provide perspective and wisdom from a position of greater experience and success. Your peer is someone at roughly your level who shares similar values and goals. This person understands the challenges you're facing because they're facing them too. You can share struggles, celebrate victories, and provide mutual accountability without judgment or competition. This relationship prevents the isolation of your journey from becoming toxic or self-destructive. Your apprentice is someone you're helping to develop. This might be a younger colleague, a family member, someone in your community, or even an audience you're building online. Teaching and mentoring others serves multiple purposes. It clarifies your own thinking, provides a sense of contribution and meaning, and creates a legacy beyond your personal achievements. This network of 3 provides all the social connection and feedback you need without the dilution and drama that comes with trying to maintain relationships with everyone who crosses your path. Quality over quantity becomes your relationship strategy. Now let's talk about the daily routine that keeps you grounded and focused while walking alone. I call this the steady walk routine, and it consists of 3 specific time blocks that structure your entire day around growth and reflection. The morning 3-minute direction session happens immediately after you wake up, before checking your phone or engaging with the outside world. You spend exactly 3 minutes clarifying your primary focus for the day, reviewing your long-term goals, and setting your mental and emotional state. This isn't about detailed planning or complex strategy. It's about orienting yourself toward what matters most before external influences can crowd out your inner wisdom. The afternoon 6-minute execution review takes place during the middle of your day, typically around lunchtime or during a natural break in your schedule. You spend 6 minutes honestly assessing how well you're executing on your morning direction. Are you on track? What obstacles have emerged? What adjustments need to be made? This isn't about perfection or harsh self-judgment. It's about course correction and conscious awareness of your daily progress. The evening 9-minute review happens before you go to sleep, after all work and social obligations are complete. You spend 9 minutes reflecting on the entire day. What did you learn? What are you grateful for? What would you do differently? How did you honor your standards and boundaries? What progress did you make toward your long-term vision? This review closes the loop on your day and prepares your subconscious mind to continue processing and growing even while you sleep. The beauty of this routine is its simplicity and consistency. 18 minutes total per day, spread across 3 specific times, creating a framework that keeps you connected to your purpose and progress, regardless of what chaos or opportunities emerge in your external environment. These 3 practices, the morning direction, afternoon execution review, and evening reflection, create what I call conscious continuity. Instead of just reacting to whatever happens each day, you're actively shaping your experience and maintaining awareness of your growth trajectory. But perhaps the most important aspect of walking alone is learning to distinguish between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is the painful feeling that something is missing, that you're disconnected from what you need. Solitude is the peaceful recognition that you have everything you need within yourself to continue growing and contributing. The chosen person learns to transform loneliness into solitude through 3 specific mental shifts. First, they reframe separation as preparation. Every moment alone becomes an opportunity to develop skills, clarify thinking, or restore energy. Second, they view their standards as gifts rather than burdens. The discipline that separates them from others is also what enables them to create value that others cannot. Third, they understand that their path creates space for others to find their own way, rather than trying to drag everyone along their personal journey. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, and it's not about becoming cold or disconnected from humanity. It's about developing the internal resources and clarity that allow you to engage with others from a position of strength rather than need, contribution rather than consumption, choice rather than desperation. The person who has learned to walk alone brings something unique to every relationship and interaction. They're not looking for others to complete them or validate their choices. They're not afraid of disagreement or rejection because their sense of worth comes from internal alignment rather than external approval. They can be fully present with others because they're comfortable with themselves. As we reach the end of our exploration, remember that the path of the chosen person isn't about superiority or isolation. It's about taking full responsibility for your growth, your choices, and your contribution to the world. It's about developing the internal strength and clarity that allows you to serve others from overflow rather than emptiness. The echo of those footsteps we heard at the beginning. They belong to someone who has learned that walking alone isn't punishment for being different. It's the price and the privilege of becoming who you were meant to be. Every step taken in solitude is a step toward the person you're becoming and the impact you're meant to make. You are already enough. You don't need permission from others to pursue excellence. You don't need a crowd to validate your direction. You don't need constant company to prove your worth. The path is narrow, yes, but it leads exactly where you need to go. Right below what you thought, where you choose to walk alone. And suggest the next topic. Share this with someone who needs to understand that their solitude might actually be their strength. Because sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is the permission to be alone with their greatness.